A mutation strain of coronavirus said to be 10 times more infectious than the Wuhan strain has been identified in Malaysia is making the news. Health Patrol, which is a new venture where we are associated, we investigated the report and found that this virus is circulating in many countries for quite some time. It's not a new virus. On 614th gene of the spike protein of the virus, aspartic acid D is replaced by G, which is glycine. So it's a substitution mutation, does not make the virus virulent. What they have seen is that antibodies to, that means plasma therapy, plasma antibodies to D614 neutralizes patients with G614. And neutralizing antibodies of 614 gene patients neutralize the patients with D614. Therefore, these genes are interchangeable. Therefore, doesn't matter which disease you get, that's one. Number two, 614 gene is present on the surface of the virus. Therefore, people are worried that it may not produce enough neutralizing antibodies. Therefore, vaccine formation may be difficult. That's also not correct, because it is not present on the domain, on the main domain, which is called receptor binding domain. It is not a part of the receptor binding domain. Therefore, this gene does not make a difference whether the vaccine is from a virus of D614 or G614. So those people who are waiting for the vaccine to come need not worry that my vaccine will not work. If the vaccine works, all vaccines will work. WHO says main drivers of the pandemic are now people younger than 50 years. It's important to diagnose them. Even in India, amongst doctors, many of them were less than 50 years of age. These are the people who may ignore their illness. These are the people who may continue to become a carrier and follow the disease to others. If not detected in time, even they can die. Therefore, remember, the first 9 days of the virus, remember, the first 9 days of the virus are very, very, very important. Remember, it is a respiratory care which saves life. People with diarrhea, people with loss of smell, loss of taste, conjunctivitis, nausea, vomiting, anorexia, they don't die. People who die are the ones who have either pneumonia or pneumonia added up with thrombosis, hypercoagulable state, leading to acute MI, acute stroke, that is a resultant of hypoxia and hypercoagulable state. Let's have few rapid fire questions. What about in 12th of February, China said that why go for RT-PCR? And they decided to go for a CT diagnosis as a confirmed diagnosis. And suddenly there was a spurt in number of cases and there was a pressure on them and they withdrew. As on today, why don't we go? Because RT-PCR report is not easily available in all the places. It may, and even in Delhi, it takes 24 hours. Why don't we go on day 3 as a routine CT test? If they have respiratory symptoms. If they have respiratory symptoms.
Yeah. It's a question of cost and availability. That's about it. I mean,
so if cost is not a consideration.
If cost is not a consideration, I'll reiterate what I said. If the cost is not a consideration, patient has respiratory symptoms, he is COVID positive or high suspicion of COVID positive, the CT is the investigation.
Okay.
But so it should not, I must reiterate that it should not be taken as a diagnostic procedure. Only in occasional case, it may help when the RT-PCR is negative.
Okay, once we go back to the CT, they will come back and core add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is with RT-PCR positive. 5 is CT diagnostic of that. But I'm coming back to the severity of lesion, where they divide CT into 25 segments and they say so many segments are involved. What is the numbers there? How do we decide? Can CT help us in deciding steroid? Should every patient, irrespective of if they show even 3, 4 by 25, they start steroids?
My take would be that anybody who has got a CT lesions, which are, if I take about percentages, there are several scores. What we follow is a score of 40. So, if the patient has bilateral pneumonia, whether the score is 15 by 40 or 20 by 40, I would start him on steroids.
Okay, so early steroids, if you can see on a CT diagnosis, if you can see them, the changes. The earliest changes come on day 3, or they can come earlier also.
They don't come before, generally not before day 3, but I'm not aware of any study who have done CT on the first day. But from a personal knowledge, I know a radiologist, I should not name on a public forum. He had the CT trivial finding on day 2. Day 2. But I must reiterate, Dr. Agarwal, that if we give this recommendation when India is getting 60,000 cases a day of COVID,
I agree.
we won't be able to cope up with that. So let this message not go that patient who has got COVID positive and got slight cough should go for a CT scan. That will not incorrect the
Okay.
recommendation.
What about 6-minute walk test, the exertional tachycardia and breathlessness as a diagnosis for pneumonia? Those
That is
people.
that will be a diagnosis of severity of pneumonia, severity of respiratory disability. And as I said, that even formal 6-minute walk test is not necessary. Make a person walk for 3 to 6 minutes. If the saturation is dropping, I would immediately admit him.
What about exertional tachycardia? Most people say that when they walk little bit, 1 minute they walk, the tachycardia becomes 133, 130. Is it a sign of underlying hypoxia?
Absolutely, that's a sign of cardiorespiratory distress in terms of COVID, and this is not in terms of COVID, Dr. Agarwal. Any in the ICU, whenever we write any document, we write that if the respiratory rate is more than 30 or there is heart rate increases by 20 per minute, that's a severity of respiratory illness. So we don't dissociate heart from the lung. So that
So
point is very important.
the recovery trial shows give dexamethasone or methylprednisolone for 10 days. Do you think, I'll give a hypothesis. There was a time we used to say virus, no steroids. But seventh now, we give it off choice. Polyarthritis nodosa, we give it off choice. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, we give them steroid full dose. Why only 10 days? Because 10 days is not preventing post-COVID complications. Why can't we give them full course of steroids once we are giving them? Why leave it on 10 days?
No, nobody leaves it on 10 days. Nobody leaves it on 10 days, and the jury is out, I know. And 3 days back, we had an international webinar on the same subject where 3 experts from New York were also there who have more experience. Uh, steroid, steroid for saving the life of a person. For the saving the life of the person, 10 days steroid is good enough. But there is another issue which I did not talk about in my deliberation is post pneumonic fibrosis. Now, what 5% of the patients roughly with pneumonia will go into post pneumonic fibrosis, and that is a dreadful complication. And that happened with H1N1 pneumonia, that happened with SARS also. What happens in this patient that the pneumonia is followed either by the recovery or by the scarring. Now, this scarring leads to fibrosis, traction bronchiectasis, and cystic areas which are devoid of lung tissue. These patients are chronically hypoxemic. These patients either are on oxygen, some are requiring BiPAP. They are out of the COVID, but they are on BiPAP to maintain their oxygenation, or sometimes they are on ventilators. They are unable to we are unable to wean off them from ventilation, or they are on a tracheostomy. Now, this question is still being asked whether the longer steroids would lead to reduced amount of fibrosis. So, if you ask me this pointed question, Dr. Kilnani, do steroid prevent fibrosis? I do not know. That also means that literature has not come. We don't know. If you go by H1N1 teaching, the steroid do not prevent fibrosis. Other drugs like pirfenidone and all being tried. So summarizing your question, the steroid control the inflammation. And during my treatment, sorry, if I could go back to my management plan, I talked about steroids, I talked about remdesivir, I did not talk about tocilizumab. That is cytokine storm, and in the severe of the cases, the tocilizumab has a definite role, and IL-6 is the parameter which is used. Coming back to the question, the steroids and the tocilizumab will take care of the inflammation. And we are still looking at whether the steroids would prevent pulmonary fibrosis. And if you ask me, how do I manage these patients? Those who continued to be hypoxemic on the 10th day of their illness, I do give them tapering dosages of steroids in a hope that this would prevent pulmonary fibrosis, but evidence is not yet forthcoming.